These days, it seems we're bombarded with promotions stating new and improved this, premium that, and various other claims about the quality of certain products and services. But you know what? We rarely understand exactly what these words mean. Here at Sheffer Corporation, we want you to fully understand what the Sheffer Advantage is and exactly what it stands for. First of all, Sheffer's been making cylinders, and only cylinders, since 1952. They are our only product, and we make sure that our cylinders are the best. We produce cylinders in all sizes, from smaller ones that will fit in the palm of your hand to units with a 5-foot bore and 100-foot stroke. Cylinders for all kinds of industries, for all kinds of uses. Now, most of our customers already know that we put the end user first in terms of quality, reliability, durability, and overall superior performance. Still others know us best for our special cylinders, built to order for their custom requirements. Yet in many ways, even a so-called standard Sheffer cylinder, when compared with other cylinders on the market, is a custom cylinder. And that's a large part of the Sheffer Advantage too. Let me show you what I mean. The key to the Sheffer Advantage is contained right here in the cylinder itself. Take a good look. Take the time to understand, and then you'll know how Sheffer cylinders can decrease your downtime, minimize your waste, and increase your long-term profits better than any other cylinder on the market today. You see, at Sheffer, we believe that product performance is the best measure of just how good a cylinder is. Anyone who relies on cylinders to keep production running, anyone who installs, services, or repairs a cylinder, anyone whose own performance is measured in some way by the performance of cylinders will appreciate the unique way, the smart way, a Sheffer cylinder is designed and built. Take a close look at the cylinder, and you'll see that right from the beginning, a Sheffer cylinder stands heads above virtually all other cylinders. This studded rod end, for example, is machined separately from the piston rod. This Sheffer design changes the whole stress pattern by eliminating the stress concentration point and evenly spreading the stress through the piston rod. So you have virtually no breakage. Most of our competitors cut the rod in right from the piston rod, creating a weak point right here where most piston rods break. Also, with a typical cylinder, you have a situation that's kind of like the electrical system on newer cars. You know what I mean? When one little thing goes out, you usually wind up replacing a whole lot of stuff. But with a Sheffer cylinder, there's an advantage, because if your rod threads are damaged, all you have to replace is the rod end stud, not the whole rod. Makes sense, doesn't it? Here's another Sheffer advantage. See this? 4 full wrench flats on every one of our piston rods, so you can get a complete wrench hold. Think about when you're doing some plumbing at home. You're lying down, wrench in hand, flashlight propped up, and that pipe just won't come loose. What's the first thing you do? Well, all right, after a few choice words, you scramble for pliers or a pipe wrench, whatever, to get the blasted thing off, right? You wind up frustrated, having lost time, patience, and maybe money in the process. Pretty much the same with a typical wrench flat. You can't get a wrench hold on it, so you use something else, a pipe wrench or vice grips, and bingo! You're cutting grooves into the rod, and the first time that cylinder goes back into full retract, you put those grooves or burrs right back into the seals. And we all know what that means: leaks. We pretty much eliminated that problem with 4 full wrench flats that give you 90 degrees of rotation for a good, solid hold at all times. No hunting for that odd or special tool. Just use a common wrench. Simple enough. But that detail alone can save you time, materials, and money, not to mention headaches. And then there are the seals. Seals can be one heck of a headache when it comes to cylinders, right? And while Sheffer can't promise you a seal that will last forever, we have created a way to make replacing them a lot faster, a lot easier, and with a lot fewer hassles. We've surrounded our seals in a container or gland bolted to the front of the cylinder. When you need to replace a seal, Just disconnect from the machine, unbolt and slide off the gland, change the seals, put the gland back on, and you're back in business. Your tie rod torque settings are still fine. You don't have to get inside the cylinder, disassemble the piping, or even take the cylinder off the machine. Talk about minimizing hassle and downtime. This Sheffer gland does the trick. It's quite an advantage for you. Speaking of seals, most of the cylinders made by our competitors are designed so that when you replace seals, you have to replace the bearing and all. A very time-consuming and costly proposition. In a Sheffer cylinder, the seals and container are separate from the rod bearing, but the bearing is completely inboard to the seals. If the seals need replacing, the bearing stays in place. With the rod bearing in place, you eliminate the possibility of banging the rod on the head and causing a nick in the rod sealing surface. You don't need special tools. You don't have to disassemble the cylinder. You never have to touch the torque on these tie rods. Less downtime, less hassles, and less overall waste. At Sheffer, less is more. More of an advantage, that is. The rod bearing of a Sheffer cylinder is also a hydrodynamic bearing. In English, that means we design the bearing so that oil pressure comes from the port and oil stays all around the piston rod. There's actually a film of oil between the rod bearing and the piston rod that reduces friction even further and becomes a kind of additional bearing. And that means Sheffer rod bearings last longer than those of most competitors. Here's another thing, a small thing that makes a big difference. Most of our competitors' cylinder tube ends have blunt, squared-off edges. So, as you try to push pistons into place, the seals hit these sharp edges and just fold over to get nicked, kind of like putting a round peg in a square hole, right? But, of course, you can always reach for the old compression tools. Or you can use a Sheffer cylinder and forget about all those special tools that are never there when you need them. What we've done is put a chamfer, a small diagonal cut, on the end of the piston tube for quick, easy, and reliable repairs. Let's say you have to replace the seals. You remove the piston and the rod. When you push the piston back in, the chamfer physically compresses the seal into the piston like a built-in funnel, allowing the tube to become the cylinder's own compression device. Our unique chamfer design also makes the cylinder completely immune from extrusion of the O-ring once the tie rods are tightened, forming a terrific seal that reduces the chance of leaks at the head and cap joint. Like I said, it's a small design change, but a big advantage. They can make a big difference in time and money. Sheffer also offers a standard feature on hydraulic cylinders, which other competitors would charge you extra for. Of course, this is after you discover their designs were inadequate to meet your needs. That's our slipper piston seal and bearing. Here, we have a Teflon-based fiberglass-filled pressure seal, strictly a sealing surface. And here, we have a bronze-filled Teflon piston bearing strip, or strips, as the bore gets larger, strictly a bearing surface. By itself, Teflon is a great lubricant, but the Teflon in these two pieces also deposits itself onto the bore of the cylinder. So instead of metal riding on metal, which is the case with many competing cylinders, you've got Teflon riding on Teflon. And you can't get much slicker than that. So you get lower friction, and friction is what causes wear, which means a longer life for your cylinder. And when it comes time to replace those rings, you won't need a piston ring compressor or any other special tool. Now, that's slick. From one end to the other, a Sheffer cylinder, as big as a house, or small enough to fit in your pocket, hydraulic or pneumatic, offers you the comfort of knowing that about 90% of your repairs can be done without tearing the cylinder down, possibly without even taking the cylinder off the machine. And these repairs can be done without using special tools of any kind. Disassembly, repair, and reassembly can be performed quickly and easily. So you get cost savings in terms of minimal downtime and no need for special tools, not to mention the savings and headaches and hassles. And how do you put a price on that? Of course, you always have a choice. At least someone does. I mean, your company can choose a cylinder that costs more or less initially, and then can really rack up the bucks in terms of repairs, scrap, increased downtime, and frustrated people on the floor. Or your company can purchase a high-performance, easy maintenance, long-lasting quality cylinder, a Sheffer cylinder with all its advantages, and recoup the cost of the cylinder in no time. Plus, save a bunch of headaches, hassles, and money in the long run. Sounds like a no-brainer to me. So talk to your supervisor, your company purchasing agent, or your Sheffer distributor. Arrange for a demonstration of one of our cylinders, or ask to talk with a satisfied Sheffer customer. Remember, you're the one who has to live with these cylinders on a day-to-day basis. You're the one who has to put up with special tools, constant repairs, downtime, scrap, and poor performance. You're the one who will benefit from the advantage of a Sheffer cylinder. And you're the one we build our cylinders for. It's true. Sheffer Corporation has been making cylinders, and only cylinders, since 1952. We make hydraulic and pneumatic cylinders in virtually every size for virtually every type of industry in use. And while other manufacturers are gearing themselves more toward off-the-shelf, low-performance cylinders, Sheffer is maintaining its commitment to excellence across our product line, from standard to custom units. We're pushing the envelope to new heights, developing cylinders that, for most of our competitors, would be considered extraordinary, if they were considered at all. Why did we do it? How did we do it? We went out in the field. We saw what was happening on the factory floor. We put some hard thinking into what would make a better cylinder for the end user. The best cylinder for you. So pack up all those special tools and toss your aspirin in the trash, because with a Sheffer cylinder, you won't need them. All right, you might want to keep the aspirin around for those other emergencies. After all, Sheffer does make only cylinders. Just remember, you've got the advantage, the Sheffer Advantage, just waiting to make your work easier, more efficient, and more profitable. Quality, high performance, long-lasting cylinders, designed and built with you in mind. That's the Sheffer Advantage.